as a whole, as it goes forward in this technology era. Now, I've been reading some things on the web, and it's actually quite interesting how MIT Technology Review actually positions a data strategy. They say in unpredictable times, a data strategy is really key. Processes to store, organize, assess, and act on vast amounts of data can be frustratingly complex, but they are crucial to guide decisions that drive business growth. I remember a few years ago, 5-10 years ago, when a number of people turned around and said to me that data is going to be the new oil. I could have laughed at them. I could have not believed them at that time. Where I look at it now and see how important data is and how the most successful companies are data-driven organizations. So I'll tell you a funny story that we here at the Tesseract have encountered. We got approached by a very famous startup. They were looking at job boards in London for technology, and this was like on International Women's Day. And what they actually came across and asked us is they wanted to identify what the differences in salary expectations between men and women. Now, you would think that that potentially is something that may be quite easy. They also wanted to know, do women really apply for jobs which have lower salaries on purpose? So that was a conundrum which we turned around saying, okay, let's have a look and see how this may unfold. Many people may think, well, it may be a bit straightforward. You would potentially go and start using some tools that are out there, some statistic tools, where we can compare genders and see across salaries who is doing what at what level and how much they're getting paid, and also investigate some of these variables. But things just didn't seem that straightforward, right? It's the same like a Rubik's Cube. Yeah, you think it's quite easy to solve, but when you start delving deeper and deeper into it, it becomes a bit more challenging to actually solve it. So some of the challenges that we encountered, the platform was not recording gender. It was not recording whether the person was male, whether the person was female, and the only data that we had was from people's email addresses. That in itself was complex because probably, as you may all know, many names, there are many unisex names that we come across. And also that in London, it's a multicultural city. The naming conventions of people are very, very different because people come from all sorts of countries and have different nationalities. And there are certain names that are not sort of gender specific. You look at Sam. Sam can be a boy or a girl. We look at another name, which is like Jaden. Jaden can be a name for a guy, I mean a male, or a female. So you can understand some of the complexities that were starting to arise when we're going through all of this data. And then we find out that at the end of all of this, a third of the data had to be chucked out because it is not fit for purpose. So a takeaway lesson from this sort of one episode, that, okay, they expected that we would have come in to do a one-day job, including the data, creation of a model, and away they go. But in actual fact, that wasn't the case. It turned out to be a month-long, grueling task for everybody involved. And why was that? They did not have a data strategy in place. They had no visibility on where they were expecting to go with all of their data that they were collecting from their people and their various locations that were involved. Then we have a second use case scenario that we have here. Please don't take the captions, I mean the pictures that I have to reflect the actual football clubs that had asked us to do this particular task. Well, it was I'll just let you know that it was a prominent London football club. What they actually wanted us to do was to predict injuries within the team, within their players and staff. There were many different departments that would be involved in us having to collect data, understand what their drivers were, and understand what would be success for those individual departments. There was the medical side. The medical side were driven by them wanting to get the player fit and ready. The manager, however, was the manager and actually senior management want the players playing so that they can get more people coming to watch and they can get more results and that type of thing. But they were not talking. They were not understanding each other's needs, each other's capability, and each other's drivers. There was also no central system for recording and storing all of this information of the players in terms of when they're coming in as hurt, what they're doing, what their dietary needs are, what their medical condition is, how long they need to be off. And in some cases, players were being allowed back in before the medical team had signed them off. So there was a lot of misunderstanding with the various departments. And above all of this, the information was being kept on Excel spreadsheets. So we found a lot of abnormalities. As I said before, there was no communication between the departments. Yes, conflicting goals, no established procedures for data standardization and data entry. People were not required to store certain data. People were not required to input certain data. So by the time everything was brought back into the data capture system, it was sporadic, disparate. It wasn't fit for purpose. So I mentioned it again, some of the challenges involved were a lack of data transparency, medical the medical field were not clear on what was happening to the player's schedule in terms of how long could he be off from the playing field? Was he needed in another location? How long was that going to take for him to be ready and fit? All of this information was just being left out or was not clean enough for us to be able to help out. So I call it that the data was dirty. The data was not clean. The data was not usable. So at this point in time, the team wasted a lot of time trying to understand some of these wrong conclusions that were drawn up, understanding where and what was needed to produce good data. So it was a good learning curve for the customer, because the customer then found out that we were spending more time trying to get their data in a supportable function before it can actually be used. And the end result, the project took 2 years. And within that 2 years, we had to start coming in to work around producing a right culture, producing defined processes, processes which incorporated every department, because every department needed buy-in to understand what was important for the other teams as well, so that at the end of it, they had relevant, clean, and beneficial data for them to be able to move on forward as a business. I hope you like my caption there. Dirty data. Dirty data is everywhere. A lot of companies and organizations don't realize that, yes, they may be collecting a lot of data on their customer, maybe collecting a lot of data internally, but that data has not been streamlined, has not been looked at in a term of, is it fit for purpose for what we're doing? I'll give you another example. At this moment in time, we're working with another company that does quite a lot of oil and gas exploration and stuff. Now, they are in a predicament. They have been asked by the business to store every bit of data that's on a computer or server, because they are under a potential lawsuit. They do not know what data they need to store, but so they are just storing every single thing that they have on every individual's computer. And they are, on a monthly basis, are storing on average one terabyte of data, which is unknown, because they don't know what type of data it is. They don't know whether it's music files, picture files, is it document form files, is it text files? They don't know. They're just making sure that they're just bumbling all of this information and chucking it onto a tape. They don't know if it's useful or useless. So anyway, back to our scenario. What was the cause with this sporting issue? There was a lack of data-driven culture and no data strategy at all within this organization. So there was no system in place which allowed them to analyze the data, no system in place to be able to enable them to design result-driven models that are going to enable the customer to be very effective. When I mean effective, it's two-pronged. There's a time to be effective internally, where people need information and they get the right information, right time, from an internal perspective. There's also external information, which is how customers can get access to the relevant data that they need when they're continuing on their journey with your organization. So without those types of strategies or type of processes in place, organizations will find it really difficult to be and to go ahead of their competition. So from this slide, exactly that. Why am I sharing some of these examples to you or with you? I feel there's a lot of cases where customers, whether entrepreneurs, whether startups, whether large or small corporate organizations, where they don't understand fully what data science does. And they think they need it, they know they need it, but they're trying to, they don't understand from a data perspective why they should be collecting data and which data they should be collecting. So they just collect everything. But that collection of everything is probably sometimes driven by the business, or it is driven by regulatory and compliance. And because of all of these challenges, decisions about data strategy and future and things for the future get quashed, get pushed away, because the business is constantly trying to fend for itself and trying to keep the lights on and trying to hire in people, thinking all I need is a data scientist, and the data scientist is going to come in and do the work for me and fix all my data strategy and data issues as a whole. That's not always the case. I have seen this firsthand. I'll give you another example. I was working with a well-known public organization, not mentioning any names. They would register particular entities within the UK. And what they found was that they were still having a lot of manual processes in their registration process. They had tried so many times to try and get more effective models, more automation within their processes in these company registrations. And what they found was their models were still not as accurate as a human being. These guys had all the data. They knew where their data was. They knew what type of data they had, which was clean data, but still their effectiveness, even though they had data scientists, was not at the level in which they expected. They brought my team on, And we were able to work in, understand their data, because we have an understanding of data and AI and data science, all of those things put together. And we were able to come in, start from scratch, work with the customer to put in and understand how we can work with their strategy, figure out where their failings were. And within 6 weeks, their model accuracy had gone from 56% to 96% by just doing simple things in terms of having the right expertise at the right time. So kind of in terms of one of the other examples I was going to give you in terms of what is going on in the world. Certain companies feel that hiring data scientists is the way to go. I'm not saying it's not. Yes, it is. But you need to have certain things in place. You need to have your data strategy in line with the business to be able to go forward in terms of to be able to hire the people that you want to do the things that are going to drive the business forward. This company has been hiring data scientists, and after 2-3 months, these data scientists are leaving, and they're trying to figure out what is going on. They had no clue as to what was going on. But when you speak to the data scientists, you then get to find out, hey, actually, that organization is not ready for data science. That organization does not have a clear direction in terms of where their data collection points are and where their extraction points are going to be in terms of the goal and where they're going to fit in with the business. And the reason why they figure out they need a data scientist is because that's the hype at the minute. Everyone, as you can see by all these slide pictures, that there's just a lot of investment and funding for AI startups. But people are just jumping into it without actually taking a step back, understanding, okay, where do we need to get to before we hire that data scientist? Where do we need to get to before we start trying to integrate AI within the business? Because data science, having a data scientist is not cheap. And also having an AI specialist, it's actually also not cheap, but they go hand in hand. So you would turn around and go, wow, Denton, why are you telling us all of this information? You seem to have given us plenty of potential thought-provoking scenarios. But we've worked with a lot of companies, and we've seen how organizations continue to do or make the same mistakes over and over and over. We've seen where companies want to get to point C, but failing at position A or B because they're not taking the correct steps. In some cases, they end up feeling that they need to go and speak to the bigger organizations, the Deloittes, the KPMGs, the Tatas of this world, and they come back and they find that they're taking 4 or 5 times as long to give them an end goal. They're hiring data scientists, which costs them a lot of money when they're actually not yet ready for data science. So they haven't yet taken a step back and looked at their plan to help them get ready for data science. So, who's the Tesseract? Who are we? We are a group of very skilled technical individuals who have over 10 years experience in data science and AI. A number of the individuals you will find have actually written books. We have Stelios there, who's written and published his book on data science, The Decision Maker's Handbook for Data Science, which is highlighted there. He's also been to, he's a research fellow at UCL Blockchain Center, and a number of other capable individuals as well within the business. There's myself, who has worked with a number of Fortune 500 and 100 organizations, and are constantly working with these companies. And you will turn around and say, well, but I'm just a startup. I'm not as big as these other companies. If you end up hearing me speak, you will hear me say, data is data, regardless of which industry you are in, regardless how big an organization you are. If you have data, you need to have a data strategy. If you have data, you need to make sure or look at integrating data science using that data. So, just to give you a bit of a background in terms of Tesseract, what Tesseract means. It's a 4-dimensional cube, which embody the 4 pillars of data science. And these 4 pillars are artificial intelligence, machine learning, statistics, and business understanding. And you'll turn around and go, okay, what's that got to do with everything? Well, data science is inseparable from the value creation process. They are all of these 4 pillars are intertwined, and hence why we are called the Tesseract Academy, because these 4 pillars of data science are inseparable. They create value within your business or within an organization. You can't have one without the other. So, what does the Academy do? Well, we help design and implement the right data strategy for yourself. We come in, we understand your data, we look at your data, we will let you know whether you have good data or bad data. We will be able to let you know what potentially you can get out of that data. So whether you're an entrepreneur with zero data, startup, big corporate, and you need education on AI and data science, you need help creating a strategy within your business, you need help trying to identify how best to get involved with data science, or you need to understand who to hire. We are here to help you improve by using data-driven value within your business. So I was going to give you another story explained, but I feel I've probably killed a number of you in terms of examples over time. So these are a number of customers who have given us testimonials in terms of what we've done within their organization to help drive success. And these are, again, number of names of organizations that we've worked with and done a number of projects with as well. So when it comes to, you can see that it's quite varied, from Vodafone to Cyprus International Institute of Management to Nile University to British Land. It is just a various amount of different types of companies and sectors and organizations. Again, I will mention data is data, regardless of what business segment you are in. So probably one of the last few slides I've got to push on to you is, if you're thinking of trying to work on a data strategy for your business and your organization, we've actually got some tools which will help in this regard. We've got these are free as well. We've got a few questionnaires for data science. We've also got the data strategy canvas within that link, if you want to copy it, or if you want to just take it down, or I can actually make it available at the end in the question and answer section for people to be able to log on and download these strategy tools as well. So, questions. Sorry, I've been doing a lot of the speaking. So I will, Stelios, I don't know, do you want to open it up for questions and answers?
Yes, absolutely. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat or unmute yourselves and let us know. Thank you, Denton. It was an excellent presentation. Here's a clap. Let's add the clap emoji. I'm sure everyone will agree.
Thanks.
I think it's very important, the fact that you stated about that data strategy is very significant for small organizations, but also for bigger ones, because that's something that many startups really oversee, and they think that they can start working on a data strategy only once they get enough data. But actually, data strategy starts as soon as you think about collecting data, because if you try to work with data after your database is not set in the right format, after you've not collected the right variables, etc., etc., you're probably going to end up meeting all sorts of challenges and difficulties.
Correct. That's you're trying to close the cart door after the horse is bolted.
Yes, exactly. Adrian says, move me back. Small world.
What's that?
It's one of the companies we worked with in the past. It was a few years ago. Recommended project. Yeah. Great, small world. Cool. So I don't think there are any questions apparently. I guess maybe also because this talk is happening during working hours, maybe some people are in between meetings. Maybe they're listening only with one ear. It can happen as people are returning back to offices. But that was great. Thank you, Denton. And thanks, everyone. If you have any questions, feel free to send us an email. And also, so just to let you know, we organize all kinds of events. Most of them are free. We have a few other events coming up. One which is called the AI Clinic is an event that's really for any decision maker who's seeking to implement data science. It's really an open Q&A, so you can just show up and ask anything you want to ask about AI, data science, how you can use them in your business. And then we have some other events like how to build software development teams, organizational culture, and many others. We're also planning to run a very big data science London meetup event online, but maybe also in person. We're still in discussion with a few venues in the first quarter of the next year. So thanks, everyone, and we hope to see you again soon. Is there the way you can access this presentation? Dibu, I'm about to close this. If you can send me an email to this, we will be sharing the presentation on our YouTube channel and also on our blog. So just make sure to send me an email and I'll send you, I'll send you the presentation. Yes, thank you, Daniel. Thanks a lot. Okay, perfect. Thanks, everyone. See you soon. I'll send you an invite as well.